Hello, good evening and welcome to this edition of News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo. So we are coming to you live from the Platinum Place here in Accra region across the world. You're watching us via the power of social media. Let's take a look at our top stories. Coming up tonight, final year student and acting boys prefect of the Islamic Senior High School Kumasi falls to death from school's administration block. We've got details of that tragedy. Also, Court of Appeal overturns the life sentence of Dintro Boise Assembly member who was earlier convicted of averting the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama.
There was nothing connecting this assemblyman who was just doing his job. How then does he become an abettor of murder for him to go through all this ordeal?
Also, all victims who sustained life-threatening injuries in the El-Wak Stadium stampede during the Ghana Armed Forces recruitment exercise are now out of danger. We have details from the Deputy Defense Minister as the exercise resumes under new modalities.
Tests are being conducted according to plan. So it's generally good. And I'm sure you yourself have observed that there is a clear departure from what happened the last time.
An opposition New Patriotic Party announces a ban on proxy voting in its upcoming presidential primaries. A move the party says is to guarantee an incident-free and credible election.
That ban should be maintained. We will still not have proxy voting in this 2026 presidential primaries.
And in business, the Center for Policy Scrutiny cautions the Bank of Ghana over its actions in the forex market.
Mediation is done by financial intermediaries. The central bank is not a financial intermediary, it is a regulator.
And later in the bulletin, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa takes a swipe at other global powers, urging them to respect Africa's sovereignty.
Sovereign countries, and we need to be treated as equals. Our sovereignty needs to be respected. We need to sit around the table as equals.
We've got details of these and many more stories. Please stay with us. Grateful for your company once again. Tonight we start on a rather sad note. And a final year student and acting boys prefect of the Islamic Senior High School in Kumasi has died after reportedly falling from the top floor of the school's administration block Tuesday, 18th November 2025. The student, identified as Abbas, was rushed to the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. Sources within the school say he had previously shown signs of distress and was believed to have been contemplating self-harm, though authorities say they are unaware of these concerns. Family members, including his mother and uncle, confirmed he had made troubling remarks in the past, which they assumed were not serious. Some students corroborated these accounts. School authorities have since reported the incident to the Ashanti Regional Directorate of the Ghana Education Service, and the GES is yet to issue an official statement, but he's been buried in accordance with Islamic traditions. I beg your pardon. Grateful to have you this evening. There's a rather disturbing story coming from the Islamic Senior High School in Kumasi. What has the GES learned, and why haven't we seen a statement issued on this incident yet?
All right, thank you very much. In fact, the initial reports we are gathering is that this seems to be an issue more related to suicide. There was some level of intentionality to the act, and we are also recording that he had in the past made some remarks, especially to the mother, and that suggests that he had these kind of intentions. We are also getting the report that it began when he was seen in a compromised situation with a female student. And of course, as school authorities, they wanted to step in to gather initial information about what happened, what took place. We understand that even the mother was invited to campus, and that a disciplinary committee, of course, had been set to even meet today. You know, the incident happened last Tuesday.
Right.
We are also gathering that this young man jumped from the story building in the presence of the mother. That's the initial report we are getting. So that means that when the mother went to the school campus to follow up on the issue, this young man committed this harm to himself.
Right.
It's very unfortunate. Of course, we will send our sincerest condolences to the family. As Ghana Education Service, one loss is a huge loss to us. And in fact, it has sent some calm, some solemnity to the school campus. And this is coming to us as a very hard situation. And we are quickly in touch with the guidance and counseling. You know, whenever an issue related to suicide, depression, emotions generally come up, of course, our first resort is the guidance and counseling unit or department of the Ghana Education Service. So quickly, we are in touch with the guidance and counseling coordinator of the school. You know, we have coordinator of the school, then of the district, then of the region. Yes.
Right. Now you've brought that angle in. It's an important point we need to explore, because was this guidance and counseling coordinator involved in that entire disciplinary process? Are you learning if his concerns were really looked at? Because like you just mentioned, and as earlier reported, there were points or moments where he had declared that he will self-harm. Was this coordinator involved? What interventions were put in place?
Indeed, right from day one, our guidance and counseling coordinators are normally part of disciplinary committees on campus, because we believe that apart from punitive measures that are meted out to students who are found foul of school regulations, we believe there is a counseling dimension to disciplinary issues as well. So our counseling coordinators are usually involved in disciplinary committees. Again, these intentions, these contemplations he had.
Sorry, Mr. Feng, yes, I'm asking about this specific case. Do you know if this coordinator was involved? You're talking about what the ideal is, but I'm asking, in this particular case, was the guidance and counseling coordinator involved, especially because the student had hinted at harming himself?
Indeed, he was. But let me even further indicate that the declarations of self-harm or giving hints of self-harm, our initial report indicates that he made such hints to the mother. So it wasn't something he was generally revealing on the school campus or to the committee.
Right.
And you know, sometimes when some of these learners contemplate on some of these things, unfortunately, they find it difficult to reveal it to anyone and all that. So that is where the little miscommunication happened, that he couldn't relay such disturbances happening within him to the guidance and counsel coordinator, or even to any teacher on campus, but rather to the mother. In fact, we are learning that it was at the hint that the mother had to even go to campus to obtain further information on what exactly is happening and how best the situation can be handled. So our understanding is that the committee was even set to sit today, Thursday, and unfortunately we recorded the incident on Tuesday. However, as an agency, as Ghana Education Service, we are still in contact with the guidance and counseling coordinator of the school. You know why? We believe that when such situations happen on campus, a lot of the other students are psychologically affected.
Exactly,
you know,
exactly the next thing I was going to ask, because some students witnessed this happened right on campus, and this happened on Tuesday. So what has been triggered? What measures have been triggered to help address the psychological impact of this on the entire student and even the teaching staff? Quickly, sir.
All right, so the guidance and counseling coordinator will be meeting the student body and, of course, the teaching body as well to take them through some psychological processes, emotional process, to at least stabilize their emotions on campus, and then from there we can take the next step forward. But immediately,
Mr. Faye, I'm just
right. engaging the students and then the teachers. Yes.
What did you consider shutting down the school for some time after this incident occurred?
Immediately, that might come if further details upon investigations reveal so. At the moment, we have not. At the moment, we are looking at offering guidance and counseling services to stabilize emotions on campus. But when we realize that the situations have escalated, and for that matter, the learners may have to change the environment for some time before they will stabilize, why not? We would consider that. But at the moment, we are looking at more or less a first aid intervention, that is the counseling services, to see how we are able to stabilize our learners emotionally, psychologically, mentally.
Right.
And then from there we can pick.
Grateful for your time this evening. Daniel Faye speaks for the Ghana Education Service, and we'll be keeping our eyes on this story. Hopefully the GS will release a statement once they're done with their preliminary investigations. But the sad news here is that a student of the Islamic Senior High School and an acting boys prefect in that school of Kumasi has self-harmed. He fell off the last floor of the school's administration block, and as you may have just heard, it had to do with some disciplinary actions, and he been found in a compromising act with a female student, and he had earlier hinted at self-harming, and that's what led me to that conversation with the GSPRO. But let's stay in the Ashanti region, but away from the story. Hundreds of artisans and spare parts dealers at Swami on Wednesday hit the streets to protest what they describe as total neglect of the Swami interchange and the Swami Offensu Road project by the contractor. Our reporter in the region has more.
Swami Interchange Project was commenced in 2022, a major government intervention to address chronic traffic congestion and deteriorating road infrastructure within Swami, a key industrial hub and home to the largest automotive spare parts market in West Africa. The project, which includes 4-tier interchange, road rehabilitation from Swami to Offenso, and drainage improvement, was expected to be executed in phases. Ringo Construction Limited was assigned section of the work, whilst other components were also be handled by multiple contractors under the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Although the initial work commenced in 2023, including earthworks and utility relocations, the project has since faced delays. Residents and shop owners say the heavy dust resulting from the abandoned road work has become unbearable, affecting businesses and posing health risks. Others claim the appeal to authorities, including Swami Municipal Assembly, have gone unanswered, forcing them to resort to protest.
As a woman, we are moving for any way. The power, the people, to transfer pass of food to a socket, or move from so many people for my. Yakubusa, I almost say, our motor so few water west. Meanwhile, I know that more machines, or more the trees, the few from. More tankers, this I'm going to other water panels for Ama will be a free waham. And penny 40 promo.
Local authorities attribute some setback to funding challenges and coordination issues among contractors, but residents say communication from the government has been minimal. Today's protest is not the first. In previous years, artisans at Swami Magazine demonstrated over poor rules condition, prompting government pledge and eventual commencement of the interchange project. Later in the afternoon, police personnel were deployed to restore calm and negotiate with the demonstrators. The artisans say they will continue their protest until the contractors return to site or government provide clear and immediate plan for resuming the work.
Almost 2 weeks.
For GHOne News, Isaac Justice Bediako, Ultimate FM, Kumasi.
And here in our studios at the Platinum Place, Ridge Accra, and Bernice, Abu-Baidoo Lansa. We'll take some messages and we'll be back with more news Tuesday. Thank you for staying on News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo Lancer. Let's do some news now. The New Patriotic Party says it still maintains a stance on banning all forms of proxy voting in its upcoming internal elections. The directive was communicated at a press briefing following a high-level meeting of the party's national leadership and contestants who deliberated on earlier petitions over the matter. The former First Deputy Speaker of Parliament and Chairman of the NPP's Election Committee, Joseph Osei-Wusu, in his address says the move is part of broader efforts to prevent irregularities and ensure a transparent, credible and smoothly managed election.
We had the opportunity to review the earlier published position or guideline on proxy voting. We've listened to all kinds of petitions. We've read the petitions presented by sections of the party, and after listening to all that, we came to a conclusion that for the sake of conducting an election that is incident-free and election that is respected, election which is accessible to all, a very credible elections, that provision or that ban should be maintained. We will still not have proxy voting in this 2026 presidential primaries. That position is maintained.
It's now time for Insight on News Tonight. Now, as the words acquitted and discharged rang through the Court of Appeal, William Ba's eyes filled with tears. A release years in the making. The former assembly member was convicted and sentenced to life over the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama. He stood motionless for a moment, his chest rising heavily as the weight he had carried for years finally began to lift. His reaction, immediately a testament to the power of justice and the unwavering hope that truth would prevail, restoring his dignity and freedom. In that moment, he knew he was not just reimagined in life, but also rediscovering the man he once was before the false accusations and wrongful conviction had taken its toll. Legal Affairs correspondent Mutola Inusa has more.
After a year and 10 months, William Ba, the convicted assembly member for Dinchra Abuasi, who was found guilty for abetment, has been freed. He has been acquitted and discharged by a 3-member panel of the Court of Appeal on grounds that the prosecution or evidence adduced at the trial court did not link him to the offense and cannot be held liable for abetting the death of Major Maxwell Mahama. The Court of Appeal, presided over by Justice Christopher Archer, was of the considered view that William Ba ought not to have been convicted based on the records available to the court. Consequently, William Ba has been acquitted and discharged of abetment. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. After a year and 10 months, he walked free. He broke down in open court when the panel said he is acquitted and discharged. Moments after, his lawyer, George Bernard Shaw, explained the moment to GHOne.
This case should even have passed half-time. That is, the submission of no case should have succeeded. This is exactly what they were saying, because there was nothing connecting this assemblyman who was just doing his job. He has been instructed by the second prosecution witness that go and check on this guy approaching town with a gun. Meanwhile, there had been a spate of armed robberies in the area. So if he goes to check that, how then does he become an abettor of murder for him to go through all this ordeal?
Personally, he suffered some moments of attack in the course of this trial during the days of the High Court.
The first day that William Ba and the others appeared, it was at the Cape Coast court. And when we were coming out, my car, including myself, we were pelted with stones and the car was vandalized. So because they were saying the defender of a murderer, and then we followed up to Accra at the district court. The same thing happened. But the most dramatic was what happened in court at the Criminal Court 3 when the uncle of the late Major Mahama, may he rest in peace, accosted me openly and tried to shove a blow down my spine, and necessitating the judge to arrange for a police escort to take me out of.
For now, William Barr will have to go and sign off from the prisons and go home finally. From the Criminal Division of the Court of Appeal, Butala Inusa, GHOne.
Congratulations, William.
Let's now engage a lawyer for Mr. Barr, Bernard Shaw. He joins us for more details on this. Grateful to have you here this evening, sir. So, first off, what drew your attention to Mr. Barr's case? What about the evidence? What about the testimonies made you feel or realize that he didn't have a hand or a role to play in the murder of Major Mahama?
Well, thank you for the audience. But in simple terms, abetment of crime means that the person who's supposed to be the abetter has helped, encouraged, instigated, commanded. I mean, there are a lot of adjectives that they can use. But basically, if the abetter is supposed to have procured the resultant death, so if you do any of these acts, like you instigate somebody or you command somebody or you help somebody with an implement or a gun, or you assist somebody by transporting them to the scene of crime, or all these things, if you do and it ends in someone's death and you had the intention of you inciting, commanding or helping them to achieve that, then you are an abetter. When I looked at the case, I saw that none of these things happened, and yet the guy was arraigned and then he was to be tried. So, in line with my human rights and criminal advocacy, I had been doing that in England, and my sources alerted me to this case, and I took it up.
Interesting. So what was the evidence against him? What did prosecutors use as a reason for which to make a case of abetment?
Come again, the line was a bit shaken and broken.
I was asking what evidence was adduced for which your client was accused of abetment.
Well, they tried to add it, but nothing of the sort. That's why the Court of Appeal said today that there was insufficient evidence. None of these things that I've told you. So because they had to adduce evidence that the assemblyman either called some people and told them, go and kill this person, or he assisted them with some implement and said, go and kill them, or he procured a meeting with the deceased, may he rest in peace, to go and kill him. Basically, he should have done something to help the murderers kill him. And there was not a scintilla of evidence.
All right.
At the trial.
Right, but
therefore it was that was what.
But the court did say today that the High Court, which convicted your client, made an error by relying on the caution statement of some two accused persons to incriminate the assemblyman. Is that the case?
Yeah, it is the case, because caution statement, basically, for our readers and some of listeners who are not very privy to the dealings of the criminal justice, a caution statement is what you write to the police, or the statement that what you say when you are first arrested before a trial takes place. And in the caution statements, it is alleged that even that one, they said that the assemblyman was seen on a motorbike with others, and some people also followed later on with guns and things like that. But the thing with caution statements is that if it's challenged, or sometimes there may be motives. Remember, these guys were also charged within. So the incentive to lie was there. That is why the law does not recognize caution statements against co-accused. But more importantly, even if it was there, my argument on appeal was that even those statements, given in its totality, does not amount to abatement.
Right.
And then the court agreed with me and said that basically there was nothing in those statements. One, it's not against the assemblyman, and two, it's insufficient to amount to abatement.
Right. Interesting. But just a way of reminding those watching us, 12 of the 14 individuals implicated in that trial concerning the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama, including William Barr, were sentenced to life imprisonment on Thursday, January 25, 2024. So there were 12 people who were sentenced, and your client has now been set free. Tell us, has he met all the requirements? Is he out of prison as we speak?
First of all, for clarity, 14 people were in all charge out of the original 56 that was arraigned when I took over the case. And then 14 stood trial. 2 were acquitted at the High Court.
Yeah.
And then it remained with the 12. Of the 12, 11 of them were charged with actual murder. That is, those who actually took part, the physical act of inflicting harm on the deceased. The assemblyman's charge, he had a solitary one charge of abatement. So basically, the prosecution's case was that he has aided and abetted the crime. So he helped those 11 people to kill the major. So the others who are still now in jail were convicted of murder. But he was convicted on abatement. But basically, in law, if I help you to go and kill somebody, the law takes us to be the same. That is, our culpability is on the same level. So if you kill it and I encourage you to kill him, you get life, I get life. So that was what happened.
Grateful for your time this evening, lawyer. And that's a lawyer for Mr. Barr, who was set free today after he was earlier convicted for abetment in the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama. Thank you once again, lawyer Bernard Shaw. And so just by way of information, if you are concerned or a bit concerned about those who are suffering punishment, what it is that 12 people were convicted, 1 has been released, and you just heard the details shared by his lawyer. And that'll be it for Insight. Now, all persons who sustained life-threatening injuries in the stampede that marked the Ghana Armed Forces recruitment exercise at the Elwak Stadium are now out of danger. This is according to Deputy Defence Minister GHOne, who visited the stadium to oversee what was happening as the exercise resumed today. The recruitment process was halted last week after that tragic stampede claimed the lives of 6 young female Ghanaians who were hoping to get into Ghana's armed forces. Mr. GHOne commended the military high command for the new modalities introduced to enhance safety and order. He expressed confidence the measures are adequate to prevent a recurrence. Calvin Powell reports.
The Ghana Armed Forces is targeting the recruitment of 12,000 personnel over the next 3.5 years, beginning in 2025. The current recruitment exercise, which started on November 12, 2025, was suspended after a stampede at the Elwak Stadium killed 6 people and injured several others. With the process resuming on November 20, Deputy Defence Minister GHOne, who visited the venue, described the new modalities as highly commendable.
Potential recruits are seated, comfortably seated, and going through the processes as we plan. And so today everything is going according to plan. We have avoided the overcrowding. the potential recruits were invited in batches on specific time, and they have also been very disciplined in adhering to the measures that have been put in place. And so you can clearly see that we have taken corrective measures to win back the trust of our people. It appeared that the credibility of the Ghana Armed Forces was bruised. I mean, looking at what happened. And so I commend High Command for taking swift action.
He further disclosed that all potential recruits who sustained life-threatening injuries during the incident are now stable, except for one person from the Kumasi Center.
There are a few people who are still on admission. I'm unable to give you the specific numbers. But those that were in critical conditions that were intubated have all been gone off their tubes, and so they are responding. We have one critical issue in Kumasi, in the Ashanti region, who is still on tubes and going through, and we are praying that she will survive. Beyond that, mostly all of them are stable, and we try to avoid inviting those that were injured or those that are hospitalized, so their data is clearly taken out so that we properly assess their suitability.
A public affairs officer of the Ghana Armed Forces, Colonel Evelyn Asamoah, told GHOne TV that the exercise in Accra is expected to conclude on November 25, 2025, with the possibility of an extension if required.
Away from that, Ghana has taken another major step towards strengthening maritime security and protecting the nation's vast ocean resources. The Minister for Interior and IGP have commissioned 4 new surveillance boats for the Marine Police Unit. Peter Kwawadato reports that the new assets are expected to enhance patrols, boost emergency response, and support the fight against piracy, smuggling, and transnational crime across Ghana's waters.
It was a significant moment for Ghana's maritime security architecture as the Minister for the Interior and Inspector General of Police commissioned 4 new surveillance boats for the Marine Police Unit at Tema. With Ghana's coastal line stretching over 550 kilometers and its exclusive economic zone exposed to multiple threats, government officials say the new boats will play a crucial role in protecting the nation's blue economy,
enabling them to effectively patrol our waters, respond to emergencies, and prevent maritime crime.
The Interior Minister further emphasized that resourcing the police remains a top priority in the face of new and emergent security threats.
This will enable our maritime police personnel to quickly respond to distress calls, prevent piracy and smuggling, and protect our maritime resources from exploitation.
The Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohunu, expressed appreciation for the collaboration which has made the security boost possible.
We appreciate their commitment to enhancing our capabilities and look forward to continued partnership.
The IGP paid tribute to past Inspector Generals whose vision and leadership laid the foundation for the Marine Police Unit.
Indeed, their foresight and the dedication to enhancing our maritime security has paved the way for the progress we celebrate here.
Both leaders charged Marine Police personnel to deploy the new assets responsibly, safeguard the country's territorial waters, and contribute to the sustainable management of Ghana's ocean resources.
That was Peter Kwawadato's report read to you. It's now time for business news.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
In business tonight, the Center for Policy Scrutiny is cautioning the Bank of Ghana in its interventions in the forex market. Now, the central bank has in recent times pushed back on these claims, insisting it only acts as an intermediary in the market. But speaking at the 2026 budget review session in Accra, Executive Director of the Center, Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie, stressed the BOG is first and foremost a regulator and should leave the use of that intermediary term to the appropriate bodies.
In recent times, the Bank of Ghana has been criticized for its heavy intervention, for which many pundits believe that the exchange rate is artificial. So the BOG responded and said that they are not doing intervention, they are doing intermediation. But CPS believes that both in practice and theory, financial intermediation is done by financial intermediaries. The central bank is not a financial intermediary, it is a regulator. So it should be done by, commercial banks and other secondary and primary dealers. But the point is that gold proceeds, cocoa proceeds, and other proceeds from our exports directly go to the central bank. For example, Cocoa Board would purchase cocoa, sell it, and all the dollars will not be kept with the commercial banks. They will be kept with the central bank. So it is within this remit that we agree for any possible intervention from the central bank, because the central bank is more or less has a full custody of the proceeds from our exports. But the bone of contention is not about the action, it's about the term, the concept that you are referring to. CPS will have no problem if the central bank intervenes and they have the capacity to intervene.
Stay a while on the 2026 budget, and the Center for Policy Scrutiny, CPS, is also asking government to increase resources for the Ghana Revenue Authority. The CPS insists that the success of the 2026 budget will largely depend on how much revenue the state is able to mobilize. Here, a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Economics Department, Dr. Prince Ajay, speaking at the Center for Policy's 2026 budget review.
We therefore recommend that to make the 2026 targets actionable, government should increase resources to GHOne, who is the chief tax collector, to ensure that they get the needed support to plug in all the loopholes and all the leakages and raking more money. Don't forget that the ambitious capex of 141% is largely dependent on how much revenue comes in. We also advocate that there should be a scaling up of spending in the 2026 budget, but this should not be at the expense of efficiency. Normally, we notice that when governments have these ambitious budgets, in order to impress, they overspend and they become reckless. We are advocating that government should be careful and ensure discipline in this regard.
Let's bring you some more business news. And President of the CIMG, Michael Abu, wants industry leaders to recognize and appreciate the critical role sales professionals play in driving institutional growth. According to him, sales professionals are the engines behind every successful business and will be central to delivering government's proposed 24-hour program. A 24-hour economy, he stressed that no business can operate beyond daylight without the revenue, demand and customer traction that sales teams generate. There's more in the following report.
The 2026 National Sales Leaders Conference and Awards, organized by MGA Consulting Ghana, has officially been launched under the theme Redefining Sales Excellence for Today's Dynamic Market. Speaking at the press briefing, CIMG President and CEO of MGA, Michael Abu, said salespeople will be pivotal to the government's growth agenda.
To be able to build this 24-hour economy, in order to industrialize Ghana and get Ghana to work 24 hours, then you need the salespeople to be at the center of it, driving the market demand, driving the customers into your businesses and into your and buying your products within those extended hours.
The National Treasurer of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Kabute Caesar, added that sales forces are the engine of every business.
Creating this platform for awards, for recognition, widening the scope of the role of the salesperson. And I believe that this platform is going to create that consciousness that, the salespersons or the sales force in our organization need to be given a second look in the way they are managed, in the way they are resourced, and the way they are motivated to meet their targets.
The 2026 National Sales Leaders Conference and Awards is scheduled for June 17 and June 18, where individuals, teams, and organizations championing world-class sales excellence in Ghana will be celebrated.
That'll be all for business news. I'll be back with more Tuesday.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
These shoes are too big for me.
Oh, this one by Christmas, it so fits Pepe.
Planning ahead? It's in the DNA of Ghanaians.
News tonight. Let's bring you international news update. South Africa's president and 2025 G20 chairperson Cyril Ramaphosa has bluntly demanded that global powers respect African sovereignty and stop treating the continent as an outsider. The sharp rebuke delivered at the B20 summit in Johannesburg follows U.S. threats under President Trump to boycott and disrupt the Johannesburg summit over the country's independent foreign policy, its ICJ case against Israel, and land reform laws. Days after Washington skipped ministerial meetings and revived discredited white genocide claims, Cyril Ramaphosa declared that Africa must finally be allowed in the room as equals, a clear shot at an escalating confrontation with the Trump administration.
Fair, transparent, multilateral trade agreements that do not punish countries for a climate crisis that they did not create. From the experience of recent years, we are clear that growth must be resilient. We have seen the huge disruptions to productions and trade that can be caused by global pandemics, by wars, by conflicts, by geopolitical turbulence, and also by unilateral decisions that are taken that impact on trade. We were fed the message that you need to have rule of law, you need to embrace values, you need to have good governance. But in recent times, we've seen how those who were trying to teach us those laws and those values are the very ones who are violating all those values, who are destroying those very values. And we ask ourselves, what are we expected to do now? Because, yes, we are developing our economies. We are sovereign countries, and we need to be treated as equals. Our sovereignty needs to be respected. We need to sit around the table as equals and having the same share of knowledge, the same share of capability, without any bullying the other.
And that report was sent in by EIB's Alice Aite, who is in Johannesburg, South Africa, reporting on the B20 summit. And that does it for this edition of News Tonight with me, Bernice. Abu-Baidoo Lansa from the entire team led by Emmanuel Ejabing. We are grateful for your time and wish you a very good evening.